and welcome to No Bullshipping with Hope White. I hope that your week has been as busy and as productive as mine, because baby, I'm ready for Friday night at 5 o'clock. Okay. This week has been insane, okay, but in a very, very good way, very positive way. I'm just so excited. You guys didn't get an episode last month. I was out of pocket last month, so we reran CDK logistics episode. But this month, we're going to follow back up with DC of action items. We're going to come back and talk about part 2 of how manufacturers and distributors can get around going directly to 3PLs and working with some trucking companies. So let's go ahead and bring DC up. Hey, DC.
Hello.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good afternoon. It's 4:00 here. I'm in Milan.
Is it what you where now?
In Milan.
We gotta talk about that offline. You're in Milan?
Well, I told you that I was gonna go shopping later.
But you didn't tell me it was in Milan, baby. I thought we was going to Phipps or Lennox, but okay then.
Awesome. But yes, I had a very, very busy, productive week also.
Sure.
And I am very jet lagged. I went to sleep at 5 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
And woke up about 2 p.m. and I need to go back to sleep. I'm going to go shopping, get some gelato, and then go back to sleep.
Come on. Get some gelato for me, okay?
Yes.
All of us, okay? Awesome. So thank you so much for taking time on your trip to speak with me and follow up on part 2 of your episode of Action Items with speaking on how manufacturers and distributors can partner with trucking companies directly and kind of, maneuver around 3PL. So I appreciate you coming back to speak with me on that.
Yes, I'm glad that we had some time to finish the conversation on action items. Things they were getting really busy, a lot going on, and then it was over.
It was over. So want to get right up into it, because right now we see the market and what's going on with logistics and supply chain. Freight has taken a large drop in volume and things of that nature, but you still have a lot of manufacturers and distributors who need trucking companies to facilitate the movement of their freight. So one of the questions you asked prior to the show is, tell me what's one of the main questions some of your manufacturers ask before I answer.
I think the biggest thing is it's not necessarily a question as much as a pain that people feel when you're a small business or a startup, because the size of company that we work with at NGA is very much small and medium business, but even further to the small side. So when you have people wearing multiple hats, it's always ideally, how do I optimize my time? Because my time is a finite resource. Absolutely. So if I have a 3PL or if I have a broker, then in my mind, I'm saving enough time to justify potentially paying a higher cost. Because instead of me having to call and get quotes and do RFPs, et cetera, they're doing that on my behalf. So the biggest pain I hear is, how do I balance that? Because most people know if I go directly to the carrier, then I'm going to get a better rate. But again, now I'm thinking, okay, do I have to have my own TMS? Do I have to call these people separately? Where do I find them? Do I Google them? A lot of trucking companies, which I'm sure there are a lot of mom and pop shops. They're also small businesses. So if I'm Googling them, they probably don't have the ad spend to just pop up. So it's more about, how do I find good carriers? And then also, like, I'm risking calling someone directly. Maybe they're not great, and the 3PL has already vetted this carrier. Ideally.
Well, that's very good there, DC. That's very good, because I'm CEO of Logistically Speaking, where we educate C-suite executives on scaling their trucking company. And one of the biggest things that we talk about is marketing and branding their company so that they can stand out like a larger 3PL. And so some of those manufacturers and distributors might actually try to look locally within like your Chamber of Commerce or Google or Yahoo or Yelp or Yellow Pages for these trucking companies, but a lot of them are mom and pop, right? And so I've been really working with some of my mentees on understanding the power of marketing and branding and getting their brand out there so that they can be found by some of your, like you said, small to medium businesses who are needing their services. A lot, the common misconception is also that trucking companies don't have TMS, transportation management software, to be able to manage their loads and work. Actually, they do. They actually do have a robust system in place to keep up with the work, provide quotes that are cost effective to whatever customer they're doing business with, and they can do routing and planning as well. It just depends on the trucking company that you're looking for.
Right.
And also, I think it's very important for your manufacturers and distributors to kind of understand what their needs are when they're coming to the table with a trucking company so that they'll know exactly where they fit. 3PLs are really good with saying they can do everything and all of nothing. They're really good. A lot of brokers are very good with saying,
what do we call that? Over promising and under delivering.
oh yes, over promising and under delivering, and then they come back stressed, worrying, trying to locate all these different trucking companies that can accommodate. So I think if manufacturers and distributors would help those trucking companies understand up front what their needs are so that that company can, hey, disseminate whether they can actually handle it or pass them on to the next trucking company that can, because most trucking companies are intertwined with partners, sister companies that can assist with whatever services that they're needing.
Now, I have a question, and it sounds like we're maybe kind of going back to action items where I'm the host.
We are at action items. Come on with it.
So I have a question for the host.
Okay. Ready? Go.
So how long would a manufacturer or distributor, and I guess I'm actually now I'm thinking about and articulating it. Maybe I'm answering my own question, because if I have to call different trucking companies, I'm also going to spend maybe the same amount of time calling different 3PLs, because you still want to go through the process of understanding what their rates are and how they can support you. You're still going to have those same, requirements gathering conversations. So do you think there's a false sense of I'm saving time or getting some better service if I go through a 3PL or broker?
Absolutely. I think with a brokerage, they have multiple services offerings just right up front. They just got a plethora of things. So you think, yes, I'm getting everything I need in a one-stop shop. When in actuality, you can spend that same amount of time with a trucking company and get more value added, because that trucking company can refine your quote down to actually what you need, and maybe even save you some dollars on your bottom line by doing business with them, because the trucking company, and then 3PL as well, but the trucking company, they want that long-term relationship with you. And so they want to be able to grow and add services to you as well in the long term, and they can save you money. So I think there is a false sense of hope there that the brokerage can be the only one that can do the business for you.
And about how long would you give someone, because what happens, as I'm sure you know, when you are in a bind and a desperate need.
Oh yeah.
Start smell blood in the water.
I gotta get it.
So you don't want to wait until you're at that point, and how far in advance do you start looking for those services?
Yeah, sure. And that's all the more reason why you would want to do business with someone who's asset based over someone who's not asset based. A non-asset based still has to go secure that transportation for that freight. They don't actually have those assets readily available.
It's like the bank.
Come on,
they don't actually have your money.
They don't actually have your money, baby. They got to go borrow your money to give it back to you. Okay, but that's another conversation. Okay. But with an asset-based trucking company, they actually can maneuver assets around or maneuver capacity around for the potential client to go ahead and meet those immediate needs and tell you an exact timeline. A brokerage can only give you an estimated timeline because they don't actually have assets.
It has the assets. Mm-hmm. So now, I lost my question. We were talking about the assets. We were talking, about how do you determine, how can a, is shipper the correct term? I'm showing my logistics.
It's okay.
Manufacturer, distributor. There's so much in supply chain.
Yeah.
How many trucking companies or asset-based carriers, how many do I want in my back pocket in case someone's not available?
Well, that's always a really good question, right? But I always tell, now my practice is you always want value versus quantity, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say maybe 1 to 3, depending on what your needs are and depending on what your services are, right? So if you are a customer manufacturer who's going to use, just say dry van freight, your product is dry, you're not going to use a full truckload, or you're going to use LTL freight, then of course you might want an expedited service like a UPS or FedEx on standby, and then you want a local trucking company as well. So I say 1 to 2 there, depending on what your need is. If your volume is not extraordinary, you're only doing 25 loads a month or 10 loads a month, a small trucking company can more than accommodate you with that.
Okay. I had another question. I've got all the questions because
let me tell some people, hey, over here. Answers. Well, while you thinking, you work that brain while you in Milan, and then I'm gonna go over here and tell some people hello. So okay.
Okay.
So checking in with us this morning, we have Charlene Johnson. She says, happy Fearless Friday from Atlanta. Good morning, Charlene. We got the great Sarah Barnes Humphrey checking in this morning. Hey, Sarah, good morning. She says she's been looking forward to this episode. Of course, we got old Rob checking in from Mount Juliet. Hey, Rob.
Tennessee, right?
Tennessee. That's correct. Ashley from Atlanta. We have Lori checking in with us from Maryland. We have Samuel from Panama. And then we have Tamara from, she didn't say, she just said good morning. And then Siva and also Shelly. Good morning. Thank y'all so much for joining us.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I'm on my iPad because it has a better camera. It gives me a better glow than my computer.
Look like shape.
So I can't see all of the comments unless they're on the screen. And I like to be able to interact and answer questions and things like that. But it's first world problems, right?
It's okay. It's okay. Not first world. Was that a bit of shade? Okay. If you have
a little bit of shade on myself, I will say, I'll admit.
If you have any questions for this topic for Dyci and I, we're talking about how manufacturers and distributors can find better value in going directly to the trucking companies versus 3PLs, maybe saving them some time and dollars. Go ahead and put that over in the comment section, and me and Dyci will get that to answer before the end of the show.
I figure out what my question is, because we've been seeing a lot, or I've been seeing quite a few posts I have a lot of procurement peeps in my network. Yeah. And I've been seeing a lot of death to the RFP posts, but I struggle with really of figuring out what side of the fence I'm on that one, because I do see the value of a good RFP. Right. I do like the idea of having written documentation of what the capabilities are. I am able to communicate what my needs are. Yes. I'm not crazy about the RFP that says we need to implement a new ERP. We need an asset-based trucker. What's the rest? Give us a quote.
We need smart way transport. We need $5 million in auto, which is insane. We need, $300,000-$400,000 worth of cargo. Just keep going.
So what from the other side, I imagine that you are responding to RFPs.
I am, all day long, every day.
So how can, I've seen some people use consultants to actually create the RFP. Yeah. I know some companies have procurement departments that do that. Yeah. And I mean this with so much love. When I talk to a lot of prospects and our clients that are on, again, that smaller end of the spectrum. Yeah. They don't really know what they're doing. so
No,
much to be
they don't have
able
a clue.
to write an RFP that
Yeah,
someone can respond to and
yeah,
actually give them the answers they're looking for. And so much of it, I think, is you have to ask the right question to get
yes,
the answer that you're looking for.
yes.
So how do you guys, if you get a bad RFP, do you
Come on,
just toss it?
go. Because so okay, so let me sum that question up for you. What would a trucking company need to have a good RFP from a customer?
Exactly.
Okay, and if you don't know what an
And do
RFP
you, and just
is,
quite frankly, do you want to work with someone who gives you a bad RFP? Do you
yeah,
try to say I can educate them, or are you like, I'm not
no,
wasting my
ma'am, no, ma'am. I'm gonna speak for HD Dredge and Container Service. I'm not gonna speak for someone else, right? But if you're not familiar with RFP is, it's request for pricing, or an RFQ, request for quote, or request for proposal, right? And it's when a customer requires certain information to ascertain pricing to be able to complete a lane, or if you're going to win a bid or whatever, right? Sum it up. But for me, or for our company at HD Dredge, what we need for a good RFP is that we need to understand your point of origin, your point of destination. We need your mileage from your point of origin, your point of destination. Oftentimes we see customers just give us the city and the zip code is off, and that zip code being off can cost the trucking company anywhere from 10 to 15 miles. That's money, right? So we need to really truly understand your address origin and truly understand your destination, of where that freight is going to go. It needs to be accurate, right? What your cost for fuel is going to be, right? When you're asking trucking companies to give their pricing for line haul, a lot of times customers are not clear as to where they will actually pay for fuel themselves, or they have a special matrix that they're going to use to obtain how much fuel they will pay for, or they just leave it kind of hanging for the trucking company to figure out what your fuel costs are going to be. And then we send back 25, 30, 40, 50% into the line haul, and they're like, oh, that's too much. Well, you didn't tell me where you wanted to be with fuel, right? Next thing is understanding your volumes. If they're going to fluctuate, right? If you're going to be prepared for an uptick in your sales cycle, we need to know that. Hey, listen.
That's what I was thinking, and not to cut you off, but to cut
Yeah,
you off
good.
while it's on my mind.
You're good.
The When you were talking about points of origin, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking about, because my background is the planning side,
Yes.
and one of the things that I always say is that we do a lot of this planning,
Mhm.
but I've worked with so many different companies to where I feel like
Yeah.
the planners don't actually know what
No,
happens
they don't know.
after the plan is done. It's
No.
just like it goes into the cloud
Yes. Yes.
and someone picks it up somewhere and
Yeah.
produces stuff and makes
Sure.
stuff and sends stuff other places
Absolutely.
without really understanding the gravity of why there needs to be accuracy
Yeah. And
in
then
the
RFP.
plan, to be
Yes.
able to understand what type of volume, those points
Yes.
of origin, things like
Mhm.
that.
Right.
So I start to think, connecting the dots of how
Yeah.
the entire supply chain and value chain is connected,
Yeah.
why you need that planning piece, why when you think about network design, like
Yeah.
this is what we're considering, this is where things need to go, this is where our
Mhm.
warehouse and distributor is
Yeah.
versus where our end customer is, to be able
Yeah.
to give all of that information.
Sure.
Because otherwise, I mean, we're all trying to run businesses and think about capacity. You
Mhm.
can't tell your, trucking partner, oh, well, we're going to have,
40
50
loads.
loads, and
Yeah.
then you have 30 or you have two,
Now that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we face is the volume fluctuation there, right?
Mhm.
But the other thing with that as well in that RFP is learning how to put, or understanding it's okay to put your target rate, what you want to be in there, right? Just kind of leaving it out there in the open and then getting a whole bunch of answers that you don't want. Help the trucking company out. Give them a little target rate there so they know what to shoot by. I notice a lot of governmental agencies will do that, but not really just regular domestic freight. They don't,
Industry, yeah.
no, industry freight. They don't do that, right? The other thing I would think that would help a good RFP is give some cliff notes. So if you know you got your DC, y'all slow with unloading and loading, say, hey, this is possibly going to be a 3 to 4 hour load, unload. Don't wait till the trucking company is actually doing the work or actually facilitating the lane to find out that, oh, we should have maybe charged a little bit more in line haul for this because our drivers are going to be sitting on the door getting unloaded stuff. So yeah.
So speaking of cost, you talked about the line haul cost, and then
Fuel.
What other costs would I need to be considering? Because we work with a lot of startups.
Yeah, those accessorials. Those are accessorials.
To move stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that costs.
Yeah.
Did I get a bill? Wait, that's not what I was supposed to get. What's going on here? Let's break that down.
So giving that information in that RFP would also help. A lot of your smaller vendors typically only want line haul and fuel, but they don't understand the additional accessorial charges. Those are those extra charges outside of general transport. And so some of those look like detention, which is when the truck is held up beyond the standard loading and unloading time, which is in the industry standard is 2 hours, right? How long you gonna hold that driver up so he or she can't move? That detention cost. You need to understand as a manufacturer or distributor if you're gonna pay that cost and what it looks like, right? Truck ordered not used or TONU. When you just ordered an air truck, like you said, I told you guys we're going to have 30 loads this week, and now we have 15, but I planned for you to have me 30 trucks or whatever, 30 loads picked up. That could be possibly a TONU, right?
Because you can't block. I blocked these trucks for your loads if you don't run them.
That's correct.
Right.
That's going to be a fee, right? Toll fees. In some cities and states, they have toll fees, right? And that is also oftentimes passed back to the customer. If the freight is overweight or over height or over out of gauge, there's a permitting fee there that the trucking company has to obtain those necessary permits to be able to transport that freight over the highway. Right.
And we see a lot of that in the modular and prefab world because it's not pallet.
Right.
It's who knows, it's a wall panel, it's an actual full module. Right. And I know that one of the challenges there is that there aren't a ton of trucking companies that have these certifications and have the drivers that can help with that. Right.
And then probably the last one is stop off fee. Just right there. There are many more, right?
And that I'm sure that makes people feel so good when they get.
I know it does, but
I actually one of our we were doing a project kickoff with one of our clients last month, and we were talking about billing and going through the customer billing process. And I remember she said, I just always get anxiety when I open this bill, and it was not trucking, but it was someone that consults for them hourly. It's like I never know if it's going to be $200 or $2,000.
Oh my God, no.
But I feel like that's kind of the same with what you're just describing. Like, because if I'm thinking about states where I know there are tolls. I know there are tolls in New York, New Jersey. I know there are tolls through Florida. So if I'm shipping through that, are you able to give me? I guess that's the
give you an estimate up front.
Lands. You can tell me, or the lanes, and the origin destination. You can tell me from here to here, you're probably going to have X number of tolls.
And that's why you would need to be able to tell me as much information up front about your lane and how much it's going to move and where it's going to go and all of that good stuff up front so that I can give you an accurate quote for service. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me is that as these companies are thinking about 3PL versus going direct or using a broker or something like that, I am hearing potentially I need a lot of data and I need to have a lot of information that I might not have the expertise or the time to create. And then at that point, I think of, we'll call the experts. In this case, not me. I'm not the expert for that. but there are plenty of logistics consultants who can help, companies figure out, again, network design, and be able to explain what that connection between the logistics data and the planning data is and how to extract that in order to be able to give a good quote. Because there are so many times where I talk to startups, to small companies who are using a 3PL, again, because they think they're getting a better bang for their buck because, they group all of our volume together. So we now have more buying power and we can get better discounts or, something like that. Or they also do our order fulfillment. So it's better for them to just do the order fulfillment and then to tell us which carrier to use, and then they send us the bill. But what a lot of people don't realize is that they're expecting the 3PL to do all the stuff that we just talked about, all that data. And is it actually cheaper if I do a truckload and leave the truckload at the distribution center as opposed to fulfilling, every single order? They think the 3PL is doing that, and the 3PL is not doing that.
No, they're not.
They're not optimizing lane costs. They're not doing all of these things.
No, what happens, and it burns my biscuits, and I don't care if any brokers are listening or not, but before I say what I'm going to say, let me tell some more people. Hey, Latif, how you doing from Nigeria? Hi, Sue. How you doing? Checking in with us from Tallahassee, the garden event. Hi, Jamal, the broker. How are you doing? And then we have Raymond. He says, hello, everybody. Ray Clay here. I love to see women doing this kind of business and really understanding the ins and outs of it. Well, Ray, I mean, pop my collar a little bit. But no, seriously, what I was going to say before I told everyone hello is that I despise seeing brokers obtain direct bids from clients and then send all of that, just copy and paste that same information. That's all it is. Copy and paste. And send it directly to the trucking company, and then we turn around and give the numbers, and then they turn. It's just a headache. It's the exact same process, right? There is really, like you said, there's really not any optimization or planning or forecasting or anything on your behalf. It's just basically a middleman pushing it back to me, the asset-based carrier, to get that information for you guys to be able to get that lane.
Right. And someone's going to watch this. They're going to say, that's not true. We do that. And it's like, okay, we're obviously not talking about every single broker and every single 3PL.
All right,
but I don't know anyone who does it. I also don't know all of the 3PLs and brokers.
Hey, I know they call HG Dredge for work, so I ain't gonna say that. If they doing it all, baby, why you calling me? But anyway, child, I just had to throw that little piece of shade in that palm tree right there.
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I
just want to be cognizant of time. I think we only have a couple more minutes.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of wrap it up and just tell everyone, if you're a manufacturer or a distributor looking to do business with small trucking companies in your region, I challenge you to start looking locally. Do a small Google search, right? A lot of you.
And just a quick interjection. These local companies can also do national.
They can do national
movement if needed.
Yes, and again, that goes back to knowing your lane so that the trucking company can know their coverage area, right? But doing a quick local search through the Chamber of Commerce or Google or Yellow Pages to give those small entities opportunities to earn your business and scale up with you.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we forget the scale together model.
Yes.
And there are a lot of success stories around it. Because you start to work with companies and know what their limits are, their constraints are, what to expect, know how to have that strategic partnership, shared risk, shared reward. And I think that a lot of small companies, at least that I've talked to, they really forget the power of doing that together, or underestimate the power of doing that together.
Okay.
So right, that's a little shameless plug for my show. I'm going to be talking about that.
Come on with it. All right.
I'm going to be talking about that on Action Items in a couple of weeks. There's actually a modular manufacturer that does luxury single-family homes in Spain.
Okay.
In Valencia, Spain. We're going to have them on. And they're going to be talking about how they were able to scale their business by also scaling their logistics partner, by also scaling their procurement and materials. And everybody
they're going to cut us off.
Everybody's winning.
They're going to cut us off in a minute. Sarah going to cut the floor. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining this episode of No Bullshipping with Hope White. Dyci, thank you so much and enjoy your vacation.
Thanks for having me again.
All right. Talk to you soon.